past. Yet what we have learned over the last 7 years is that they say just trust us. Trust us. We'll deal with it when we're in committee. Yet they failed to do that. They failed to do that. And trust is earned, Mr. Speaker. It's not just given. And time and again, this government continues to burn that trust and burn any goodwill with not only the opposition, but also Canadians, Mr. Speaker. And I'll pick it up at the end of question period. Thank you.
The honourable member will have 14 minutes and 25 seconds when we return. Coming to him. For now, we'll go to statements by members, déclaration de député. The honourable member for Brampton Centre.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to join everyone here in Canada and around the globe celebrating Diwali and Bandi Chor Divas. Diwali symbolizes the spiritual victory of light over darkness, good over evil, and knowledge over ignorance. Bandi Chor Divas is known as the Day of Liberation. It is a celebration of human rights and freedom, marking the freeing of Guru Har Gobind Singh Sahib and 52 Rajas from a long imprisonment. Today, family and friends will get together to pray, exchange gifts, share meals, and light diyas in the spirit of hope. On behalf of the residents of Brampton Centre and my family, I wish all who are celebrating a very happy Diwali and Bandi Chor Divas. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Hear, hear. The honourable member for Niagara Falls.
Mr. Speaker, I am proud to support my new Conservative leader and the results he is getting for Canadians. Less than 1 month after the election, the federal Liberals threw in the towel and gave up on defending the disastrous ArriveCAN app. That's right. For many months, medical experts have told MPs that ArriveCAN could have been scrapped as early as this past spring. But instead, the Liberals held on and continued its mandatory use through the summer 2022, crushing any chance for an economic recovery for our hardest-hit tourism sector. Not only did this useless app cost Canadians tens of millions of wasted taxpayers' dollars, it also cost our economy untold billions in dollars in lost tourism revenue. Before the pandemic, the Canadian tourism industry was valued at $105 billion. Today, it's down to $80 billion, largely because of the failed Liberal pandemic policies like the mandatory use of ArriveCAN. At a time when many economists are predicting rough waters ahead for the Canadian economy, the Liberals continue to waste precious taxpayer money on this useless app.
Honourable member for St. John Rothsay.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Mr. Speaker, 7 years ago in 2015, I came to this great place on behalf of the constituents of St. John Rothsay with one major goal. And that goal was to deliver much-needed federal investment in my riding, a riding that had become stalled under the previous government. I wanted to deliver strategic investment, Mr. Speaker, that would help my riding grow and thrive. And there is no better example than that, Mr. Speaker, of our government's $100 million investment in Port St. John. A few years ago, Port St. John did 60,000 containers per year. In the next several years, it will go up to 800,000 containers. That will create hundreds of good-paying waterfront jobs. Mr. Speaker, there is no better example of a government investing to create private sector investment. CP Rail and DP World will invest $1.5 billion in Port St. John over the next several years. Port St. John is growing and thriving. It's an economic catalyst for my riding and for all of New Brunswick, and I am very, very proud of my government's investment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable député de Rivière-des-Mille-Îles.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. During Public Library Week, October 15 to 22nd, I'm pleased to mark the 10th anniversary of the new Guy Bellil Library, located in Saint-Eustache, in my riding of Rivière-des-Mille-Îles. Inaugurated in October 2012, this library quickly established itself as a cultural hub at the public service. That's 2.75 million books loaned, 1.3 million visitors. And it feeds the dreams and curiosity of an entire population. This library is an immense asset for the people of Saint-Eustache. Thank you to Monique Cousin and Nicole Grimard, the head librarians to whom we owe these 10 years of resounding success. thank you to my friend, Raymond Tessier, Municipal Councillor for the City of Saint-Eustache, without whom this project would never have seen the light of day. Happy 10th anniversary.
L'honorable député de Pontiac.
Monsieur le Président, le Canada...
Mr. Speaker, Canada has all the ingredients to become a world leader in tomorrow's economy. We have essential minerals, productive farms, high-tech companies, and renowned universities. The main threat to our prosperity will come from reckless and irresponsible policies, as we have seen in the UK. Once again this week, we'll see the opposition offering Canadian slogans rather than solutions. But if we withdraw from our Paris commitments, Canada's economy will suffer and lose its edge. Our G7 and EU partners won't just condemn that, they'll put a carbon tariff on our products at their borders. That means we wouldn't be able to export. Canadians deserve responsible economic leadership that will allow us to build an economy of innovation and well-paying jobs.
North Okanagan Shuswap.
Canadians can't afford the costly coalition between the NDP and Liberals. As winter descends on Canada, Canadians are being warned that the average price of home heating will rise between 50% and 100% this winter. Some Canadians could see home heating bills bloat by 300%. Canadians who heat with natural gas, electricity, propane, or even wood pellets are going to see home heating bills take a bigger chunk out of their budgets every month, leaving less for food for the dinner table. The Liberal NDP plan to triple the carbon tax is making matters worse for Canadians with no alternatives for heating their homes. Again, Conservatives can't afford the costly coalition, Liberal NDP, this government's insatiable hunger for taxes and its infliction of hunger and cold on Canadians. As winter arrives in Canada, our new Conservative leader and the Conservative caucus are standing up for Canadians by fighting the Liberal NDP plan to tax hungry people out into the cold.
The honourable member for Charlottetown.
Speaker, on Thanksgiving Monday, in the aftermath of Hurricane Fiona, history was made in PEI. The PEIFC under-15 girls soccer team had the best result of any youth team in history at the National Championships hosted in Charlottetown. They shut out the Alberta champions and beat the best teams in the Maritimes. Then they knocked off the London Alliance Mustangs, champions from a province with 87 times the population of PEI. This was thanks to some late-game heroics by keeper Quinn Gavin and a winning goal by Callie McDonald in extra time playing shorthanded. In the national championship game, a depleted PEIFC side played their hearts out and gave Winnipeg football all they could handle until late in the second half. The result was silver for the first time ever. Congratulations to the players and everyone who didn't let Fiona get in the way of this national championship, and an epic performance by a group of young Islanders who simply refused to be outworked. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Toronto Danforth.
Mr. Speaker, opportunity brings change. That's a motto that we were talking about yesterday at Eastview Community Centre when we saw young people receiving awards for their accomplishments and as a vote of confidence in their future. There were 3 young people who received awards. Ahmed Arif and Rukia Chibu received grade 10 scholarships. They're participants and volunteers at the Eastview Community Centre. Shahada Jack received the Youth of the Year Award. She's a journalism student and she's a spoken word poet. It's a very strong voice for people in her community. They all described Eastview as a safe place, a home, somewhere where they gain strength to go forward. I want to congratulate Rukia, Ahmed, and Shahada for their awards, and also to thank everyone, the volunteers and all the staff at Eastview Community Centre. You are amazing people who bring opportunity and change. Thank you.
Bravo. The honourable member for Calgary Forest Lawn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today marks Diwali and Bandi Chhor Divas, a time we commemorate Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji for standing up for the freedom and human rights of many others at the cost of his own. This also marks the Festival of Lights for many around the world. This celebration of the victory of good over evil sees families joining together to light diyas, gather for fireworks, and visit gurdwaras, mandirs, and temples to pray for blessings, prosperity, and peace. People will also light their homes with bright lights to mark the occasion. Let us reflect upon the lessons of freedom and human rights Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji has taught us, along with making efforts to challenge the darkness in our own lives with light. To remember to take a break during our busy lives and reflect on the good we can continue to do in the world, being the voice for the voiceless. To all Canadians celebrating today, I wish you blessings with comfort, peace, and fellowship. Happy Diwali and Bandi Chhod Divas. Diwali ਅਤੇ Bandi Chhod Divas ਦੀਆਂ ਲੱਖ ਲੱਖ ਵਧਾਈਆਂ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ.
The Honourable Member for Milton.
3 days after being detained by Iran's so-called morality police for supposedly wearing her hijab improperly, 22-year-old Mahsa Amini was killed. This human rights violation began a series of protests across Iran in over 80 cities, leaving over 200 people killed by security forces. This indiscriminate killing has also left at least 23 children dead. My thoughts are with all Iranians, those living in my riding of Milton, Ontario, across Canada and the world, as they collectively demand basic human rights, freedom, and respect. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps leadership group are serial human rights abusers, and the IRGC are state sponsors of terrorism. Last week, the Minister of Foreign Affairs hosted a meeting on the protests with foreign ministers of state from around the world. Canada will not sit idly by while Iran's oppressive patriarchal regime continues to strip women of their basic human rights. I stand in solidarity with the brave Iranian women who are risking their lives by demonstrating. To those gathering, cutting your hair, tying it up, and speaking out, you are seen and you are inspiring. We have a collective obligation to ensure that these courageous actions bring about positive and lasting change.
The Honourable Member for Foothills.
Farmers across Canada are wrapping up harvest, and there's a sense of pride and accomplishment, but also of stress. Stress because the Liberal NDP Carbon Tax Coalition is taking an average of $45,000 from the pockets of every single Canadian farm family. Stress because Liberal inflation is driving up interest rates, making it harder for farmers to manage their debt, putting thousands of family operations at risk of foreclosure. Canadians are starting to feel there are real consequences to activist policy burdening those who grow our food. Canadians can no longer afford the Liberal NDP Carbon Tax Coalition, which has already driven food prices to a record 41-year high. When bread prices are up 15%, Canadians can't afford to put food on the table. When carbon taxes are driving up input costs, farmers can no longer afford to produce it. Unlike the Liberals, Conservatives are very proud of our Canadian producers and everything they do to help feed the world. And unlike the Liberals, a Conservative government will make sure that Canadian farmers are both environmentally and economically sustainable, because no farms, no food.
For Simcoe North.
Canadians are bracing for a difficult period ahead. Winter is coming. Warnings about a slower economy, inflation resulting in higher and food energy prices are enough to increase the anxiety of all Canadian families. On this side of the House, the Leader of the Opposition warned the government how drastically increasing the money supply could lead to inflation. And even a few months ago, when anyone raised concerns about the risk of a slowing economy, this Deputy Prime Minister called those individuals economically illiterate. Remember when inflation was supposed to be transitory? This government spent years telling Canadians deficits and debt were not a problem because interest rates were low. They added $100 billion to the debt before COVID, $500 billion to our debt during COVID, and now we're going to spend more on interest on the debt than we do on national defense. But Canadians are told not to worry. This Liberal government has found fiscal restraint. But how can Canadians trust the arsonist to put out the fire?
The Honourable Member for Sackville, Preston, Chiswick-Cook.
Last week, the Fédération Nationale des Conseils Scolaires Francophones gathered for its 32nd Annual Congress in Whitehorse, and I was able to join them. Our government is continuing to assist the education sector. All school boards in a minority setting enjoy support from the Federation in order to ensure the vitality of these communities. It is thanks to them that our young people continue to be able to live their language and their culture. These types of assemblies allow us to network, to plan, and to consider important issues in education throughout Canada. I want to congratulate the Federation for the success of its event, and thank you for the work that you do for French language education in Canada. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Nunavut.
Au
The member has provided a translation of her statement. The interpreter will now read this translation. Nunavut are gravely concerned about the marine environment in Nunavut. The opening of the Northwest Passage means more vessel traffic. This increases the risks of oil spill, for which communities are not equipped to mitigate. Arctic sovereignty is at stake. Nunavut are reporting changes and are being ignored. I call on this government to resource Nunavut communities so they can support their communities. Reading of the translation is done. Official languages interpretation will resume shortly.
L'honorable député de Shefford.
Mr. Speaker, today I'd like to acknowledge the important contribution of an outstanding volunteer from Shefford. Lise Fauché was until recently a member of the board of directors of the Business Development Center of Haute-Yamaska and its local region. Ms. Fauché has been a volunteer since the creation of this Business Development Center in 1985, which means she's devoted over 37 years to her region's economic development, first as a director, then as president of the board of directors from 2001 to 2022, the longest presidency in its history. She was even a representative of the Montérégie CFDC network for several years. She's a woman of action, working in a world of men who's committed to the center's long-term survival in order to support entrepreneurship in our beautiful region. The conference room in its Granby offices will even bear her name in recognition of the fact that she embodies the organization's memory, and we wish her a well-deserved retirement.
Honourable member for Coast of Bay Central Notre Dame.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Liberal Premier of Newfoundland and Labrador, a very close friend of the Prime Minister, said in early September that putting carbon tax on home heating fuel would place, and I quote, undue economic burdens on the people of this province. The four Atlantic premiers wrote to the Federal Environment Minister around the same time to request an exemption on the deadline to the end of the tax exemption on home heating fuel. They were flatly turned down by this Liberal government, whose intent to tax the right to heat one's home reflects their cult-like beliefs that taxing the essentials of life will lower carbon emissions. The NDP coalition partners are partial to the same cult-like beliefs. According to the chair of the Atlantic Canadian Premiers, energy poverty in Atlantic Canada is nearly 40%, the highest in the country. Atlantic Canadians are counting on their MPs to stand with them when they stand to vote today on a motion to axe the carbon tax on home heating fuel.
The honourable member for London North Centre.
Speaker, I rise to honour Tina Bax and Michelle Quinton, who were recently inducted into the London and District Business Hall of Fame in recognition of outstanding contributions in ethics and in business. Tina is the founder and former president of CultureWorks ESL and founder of Canada Immigration Pathway. Founded in 1998, CultureWorks was the first public-private partnership of its kind in Canada, graduating thousands to colleges and universities across the country. Michelle is president and CEO of Ontario Great Lakes Goodwill Industries. As CEO at Goodwill, serving across Ontario, she steered the company to a $59 million enterprise with 1,200 employees who train and work on several platforms, including thrift recycling, food and hospitality, light manufacturing, and more. I've come to know Tina and Michelle as titans in our community. Mr. Speaker, they've made monumental impacts in their field, and they've made London a better place to live. Congratulations again to them. Thank you very much.
Question orale, oral questions. The honourable member for Thornhill.
But inflation is already here. Liberal inflation has driven up the price of food, it's driven up the cost of gas, and now the Prime Minister wants to make it more expensive to heat one's home this winter. Seniors across Canada could see their gas bills double because of this government's tax hikes. If they won't listen to their own constituents, maybe they'll listen to the Liberal Premier of Newfoundland and Labrador, who said that rural seniors will struggle to keep the heat on. Will the Prime Minister show some compassion and vote this afternoon to cancel his plan to hike taxes on home heating?
Here, here. The Honourable Minister of Tourism.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservative opposition has a golden opportunity to do this week what they did last week, which was to see the light, support the Canadians, vote for a bill proposed by we, the Liberals, to make life more affordable for Canadians. They can support 500,000 Canadian children with our dental plan. They can support low-cost renters with our housing plan. Mr. Speaker, will the opposition do the right thing and vote for C-31? That's what Canadians want to know.
The honourable member for Thornhill.
The minister knows that the vast majority of Canadians will never see a penny of that money, but every Canadian is paying tax, the tax hike to heat their home. The question was about home heating. The Prime Minister wants to triple the tax on seniors for the crime of heating their home in Canada in the winter in February. It's not a luxury, it's a necessity. Mr. Speaker, will the ministers driving inflation on the front bench allow their colleagues who understand the problem to vote this afternoon to exempt home heating from their planned tax hikes?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, let's set the record straight in terms of which side of this House is supporting Canadians when it comes to taxes. In 2015, we lowered taxes on Canadians and the Conservatives voted against. In 2019, we lowered taxes for Canadians again. The Conservative leader and his party voted against. In 2021, we lowered taxes on working Canadians. The Conservatives voted against. And just this summer in 22, Mr. Speaker, when we lowered taxes on small businesses, the Conservatives voted against. We're voting for Canadians. We're lowering taxes. They're voting against.
The honourable member for Thornhill.
Canadians are united by a cost of living crisis that the government has created. The Liberal MPs have an opportunity to vote today to cancel the planned tax increases on heating this winter. Today they can stand up and they can tell seniors across this country that they understand that heating one's home is essential. It's not a choice. Their plan doesn't reduce emissions, and the costly coalition with the NDP just hurts struggling Canadians. Everybody is watching. Will they vote today to do the right thing and exempt home heating from their tax hikes? Yes or no?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Speaker, every time a Conservative gets up in this House and talks about and pretends to care about seniors in Canada, I think back to when they were in government and they forced seniors to work an extra 2 years before they could get their pension benefits that they worked hard and contributed to for decades, Mr. Speaker. Then I think to when we took power in 2015, Mr. Speaker, that government, that party across the aisle voted against everything for seniors in the last 7 years. Mr. Speaker, Canadian seniors know who's got their back, and it's not the leader of that opposition party.
The honourable member for Charlesbourg-Haut-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, at an auto industry conference last week in Windsor, the finance minister publicly contradicted the Prime Minister when she said the federal government would have to tighten its belt in the coming months to avoid inadvertently increasing inflation. This announcement of a new tighter budget policy comes as a surprise to many, given that the Prime Minister has always said the opposite since taking office in 2015. The Liberals are finally admitting that their out-of-control spending has contributed to higher inflation. Can they now admit that tripling the carbon tax will increase the cost of living? The Honourable Minister. The budget contains a clear message for Canadians. They can count on us to manage their money responsibly. It's unfortunate that the Conservatives want to cut old age security and all our supports for seniors. They want to cut supports for dental care. They want to cut supports for housing. Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we're supporting Canadians, but on the other side, they vote against everything. The honourable member for Charlesbourg. Mr. Speaker, I totally agree with the parliamentary secretary, because what the Conservatives want is to cut the carbon tax and the increase to it. And we want that government to stop raising taxes. Yes, I agree. We all agree that we want to cut taxes for Canadians. We have to stop increasing taxes. Can the parliamentary secretary confirm that his government will scrap the increase to the carbon tax and all other taxes on Quebecers and Canadians? The Honourable Minister.
Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker, as a minister, the Minister of Tourism and Associate Minister of Finance, I I respect my honourable colleague, the critic, but what did they do when they were in office? They chopped all kinds of jobs and taxes. On this side of the House, Mr. Speaker, we will always support Canadians. We're fighting inflation. We'll be there for Canadians. We will be there for housing support and dental care. The other side can gripe, but on this side, we're taking action. The honourable member for La Prairie. Mr. Speaker, in the face of inflation, if the government truly wanted to help Canadians, families with young children, they could have simply increased the child benefit. But why make it simple when you can make it complicated? So they invented a check for dental care for those 12 and under. Today, the Parliamentary Budget Officer confirmed that this benefit actually discriminates against Quebec families. A Quebec child will receive half what a child outside Quebec receives. Quebec has 23% of the children, but will only get 13% of the money. Will this government correct this so that its dental benefit doesn't discriminate against Quebec families? The Honourable Minister of Health. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm very happy to take that question because it gives me the opportunity to specify that in Quebec, not only do families and their children already have access to dental coverage, but there's now an increased investment from the federal government, including prevention like fluoride treatments and cleaning, dental cleanings, hygiene, and so on, preventative things for people's gums and so on. All this is additional, and we hope this will pass quickly in committee. The honourable member for La Prairie. Mr. Speaker, it's not that complicated. If governments wanted to help families, they could have increased benefits to families. It's that simple. But no, too simple for this government. If they wanted to help with dental care, they could have made an agreement with Quebec and transferred the money. But no, that would be too simple. So they designed this dental benefit. And why? It's not that much of a puzzle. They wanted to do not the simple thing, but to please the NDP and keep their majority in Parliament. So it's not dental insurance, it's majority insurance. Will the government at least change its majority insurance so they're not discriminating against Quebec families? The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank the member for giving me this opportunity to talk about the Canada Child Benefit, which we implemented in July 2016, and that means that this has reduced child poverty by 40% in his riding as in my riding. And thanks to this benefit, which we implemented in 2016. Unfortunately, I believe the Bloc voted against that implementation of the child benefit in 2016. The honourable member for Rosemont, La Petite Patrie. Last night, my final patient died right in front of me with a ruptured aorta. He'd already spent 16 hours the day before in another hospital waiting room without being seen. There was nothing I could do. He died within minutes of arrival. These are the heartbreaking words of Dr. Sébastien Marin at Ormston Hospital. 16 hours in the ER waiting room with a history of heart trouble. When will the Liberals step up to the plate and invest the money needed to give our public health care system what it needs? The Honourable Minister of Health. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We're all very aware of what the member has just told us about, and we all have a sense of this in the hospitals in Quebec and elsewhere. The situation is awful. There is a crisis because healthcare workers are in crisis. They're tired, they're overworked, they're exhausted. Many have quit. Many have left the industry, and that's why we are providing additional funding to the health transfers to help reduce delays for diagnoses and surgery, and additional funding to help take care of health care workers and long-term health care facilities as well. Fanshawe.
In London emergency room, wait times have reached an all-time high. Patients are waiting up to 20 hours for care. And it's not just people in London. Canadians across the country are seeing record wait times for emergency care as Conservative premiers continue to underfund the system. Instead of helping people, this Liberal government won't stand up against their buddy Premier Ford's cuts and privatization to Ontario's health care system. When will this government defend Canada's public health care so Ontarians are not waiting a full day to get the urgent life-saving care they need?
The Honourable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and having access to appropriate health care services is a fundamental basic human right, recognized, as we all know, by the Canada Health Act, with conditions that ensure that the federal government provides appropriate support to provinces and territories, making sure the services are universal, accessible, and free. And that's why we are engaging with provinces and territories to add to the other transfers I mentioned just a moment ago in French, in addition to the increase of 10% in the Canada Health transfers that is coming in March 2023.
The Honourable Member for Calgary Forest Lawn.
Mr. Speaker, last week, former Bank of Canada Governor and potential Liberal leadership candidate Mark Carney told a Senate committee that rising cost of living and inflation are domestic stories. Bank of Canada Governor Tiff Macklin has said inflation is homegrown, even noting that the carbon tax contributes to inflation. Yet, as winter approaches, this costly coalition isn't doing anything to make Canadians' lives and home heating affordable. Will the Liberals provide Canadians relief by removing home heating from the carbon tax?
The Honourable Minister of Tourism.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to thank my honourable colleague for his new role, and he speaks, as do the Conservatives, about the need to make life more affordable for Canadians. Well, Mr. Speaker, they have the opportunity to do just that this week. They can vote and support 500,000 kids with dental supports. They can support low-income renters with $500 for housing supports. They can do the right thing and vote for C31 this week. The question is, Mr. Speaker, will they or won't they?
The Honourable Member for Calgary Forest Lawn.
Well, soon enough, when Conservatives are on that side, Liberals can ask us the questions. But home heating in Canada is essential. But thanks to Liberal inflation and blocked energy projects in Canada, natural gas is up 37% and other fuel oils are up 48.7%. Liberal inflation will also see Canadians lose up to $3,000 in purchasing power next year. Now is not the time for more taxes. Will this costly coalition give Canadians a break and exempt home heating from their job-killing carbon tax?
The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Speaker, certainly we recognize that affordability is a very important issue for Canadians. It is why 80% of Canadian households get more and back in a rebate on the price on pollution than they actually pay. It's also why we're investing $250 million to help make home heating more affordable for families across the country by helping them to move to more affordable and greener home heating sources. So you see, Mr. Speaker, you can fight climate change and address affordability.
The Honourable Member for Regina Capel.
Mr. Speaker, Liberals like to try and blame everyone else for the inflation that they caused, but Canadians know that it was the Prime Minister's massive deficits and money printing that has driven inflation to record highs. Now, it's too late to undo the inflation the government's already caused, but it's not too late to do something about soaring energy costs going forward. Analysts are predicting that home heating costs are going to skyrocket this winter, with many families paying twice as much this winter than they did last winter just to stay warm. Will this costly coalition abandon its plan to triple the carbon tax and give Canadians a break on their home heating costs?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I think we should actually deal in facts. Most of the G7 countries actually have higher inflation rates than do Canada, and that opposition actually supported almost all of the COVID supports that they are actually speaking to. But as I say, Mr. Speaker, more than 80% of Canadian families get more money back than they pay in the price on pollution. We are investing $250 million to help families to actually reduce their heating costs through the implementation of things like heat pumps and to address the climate crisis that we face concurrently. It is important to know that you have to have a plan both for affordability and the economy, but you also need a plan to fight climate change.
The Honourable Member for Regina Capel.
Mr. Speaker, Liberals like to pretend that inflation is kind of like the weather. Like you can bundle up as the inflation front rolls in, and mothers line their children's pockets with extra 20s in case prices go up. But we all know it's caused when governments spend more money than they have and run the printing presses to pay for it. Yeah. And the carbon tax isn't working. The people who are concerned the most about climate change should be opposed to the carbon tax the most, because they haven't hit a single target they've set for themselves. And the Prime Minister's own watchdog has said most Canadians pay more than they get back. So will they abandon their plans to hike the carbon tax on Canadian families this winter?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as I have said, it's very important to address the affordability concerns. That's exactly what we are doing. But, Mr. Speaker, we also have to take into account the future costs associated with not addressing the climate issue. These folks actually won't even mention the words climate change, and in fact, their leader has not mentioned it in 6 months of campaigning. At the end of the day, the costs associated with climate change and inaction on it will be $100 billion per year by 2050. That is an appalling thing to leave to our children. At the end of the day, let's ensure that we're working for today and working for tomorrow.
The honourable member for Louis Saint Laurent. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. All Canadians are proud of our country, but there's one thing that we have, and it's undeniable. We have to heat our homes in the winter. It's not a luxury. It's a necessity when you're Canadian. But this government, Mr. Speaker, wants to increase the Liberal carbon tax. In Quebec, there are lots of people who heat with propane, whether they're families or business people or farmers. They need propane. Does the government think that it's a really good idea to increase the tax on propane when we have inflation and winter's coming? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, today, the Conservatives can work with us to vote later this week to put more money in Canadians' pockets to help with costs this winter. We have a plan that puts a price on pollution to try to protect for the future. He can do something now to help us with housing and dental care. It's their duty. It's our duty. We're here for Canadians. That's our plan. The honourable member for Louis Saint Laurent. Mr. Speaker, today, the Liberal government could do something for the benefit of all Canadian families. We asked them to lower the carbon tax, and they didn't want to. What they want to do is triple the Liberal carbon tax. Mr. Speaker, we've gotten to the verge of winter. We need to heat our homes in Canada, and the Liberal carbon tax will have a direct effect on inflation. All Canadian families are dealing with the problem of inflation. Will this government stand up today and announce the right thing by not increasing the carbon tax? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, two things are clear. The Conservatives don't believe in climate change, and nor do they believe in reducing taxes for Canadians. To wit, in 2015, we reduced taxes for Canadians. The Conservatives voted no, and we did the same thing in 2018. And the Conservatives voted no. And we did the same thing to try to help workers in 2021. And in 2022, we lowered taxes on small business, and the Conservatives voted no. We're here to support, and they vote no. Now, a member for Avignon, La Métis, Matane, Matapédia. Mr. Speaker, as of Friday, the handgun freeze is in effect. It's now illegal to sell, buy, or transfer legally acquired handguns. There are still some details to be worked out, and we'll make sure that gets done. But this is a step forward that the Bloc Québécois supports. Now that this has been done, when will the government finally get serious about the illegal guns that are used in the vast majority of shootings in Montreal? The Honourable Minister of Public Safety. Mr. Speaker, I'm very proud to work with this government. We announced last Friday that for the first time, we introduced a national freeze on handguns. It's a very good thing. It's a very good step. I'd like to thank my colleague for her cooperation on this legislation and on the borders. We're going to continue to invest and add resources to stop illegal arms traffickers. Thank you. The honourable member for Avignon, La Métis, Matane, Matapédia. Mr. Speaker, the government itself says that handguns are the category of weapon most frequently used in violent crimes between 2009 and 2020. And they're right, except that the handguns used in the crimes they're talking about are illegal guns. They're guns obtained on the black market, not guns bought at the hardware store. Mr. Speaker, we support the government on freezing legal weapons. When now are they going to step up in their fight against the traffic in illegal ones, the ones most often used in violent crimes since 2009? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, we have a plan to deal with the problem at the border. With Bill C-21, we're going to increase penalties for criminal activities. We're going to add new resources for police forces. We're going to work with the province of Quebec with transfers of federal funds. Obviously, we're working closely with our U.S. counterparts to crack down on crime gangs to stop the traffic in illegal weapons. Thank you. The Honourable Member for Avignon-Lamitis-Matane-Matapédia. Mr. Speaker, this freeze on legal handguns is important. I've already said that. But there will be no before and after for Montrealers. There will be no before the freeze goes into effect on Friday and then after. Because the main problem for Montrealers is illegal guns. The minister can't rest on his laurels while gun violence continues as if nothing had happened in Montreal. Does he realize that trying to solve the problem of gun violence in Montreal without tackling illegal guns is like trying to drain the ocean with a spoon? The Honourable Minister. And that is why, Mr. Speaker, we will continue to invest to stop illegal arms traffickers. That's why I was there in Montreal so recently to make a great announcement. We've transferred $40 million to support a prevention strategy to prevent violence caused by gangs. And we're going to work with the Bloc Québécois to pass Bill C-21. It's a necessary piece of legislation. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Emergency Preparedness politicized the criminal investigation into the worst mass killing in Canadian history. The evidence showed he pressured the RCMP Commissioner to release sensitive information to further the Liberal political agenda, knowing it could jeopardize the investigation. Then he denied it all on the record at committee. And for this reason, Mr. Speaker, he must resign. Will he resign today?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, and unfortunately the member opposite is simply wrong. The independence of police operations underpins the rule of law, and it's a principle that I have not only respected but vigorously defended for decades. Mr. Speaker, to be very clear, as I've testified before committee and said in this House, I did not at any time direct the Commissioner of the RCMP in any operational matter, including on the release of information. I didn't direct her, I didn't ask her, I did not even suggest that she do so. And as the Commissioner herself has confirmed in her testimony before the Mass Casualty Commission, she did not receive direction from me and was not influenced by our government regarding the public release of information.
Well, member for Kildonan St. Paul.
Mr. Speaker, at committee, the minister said to me, quote, "At no time did I ask Commissioner Lucky to reveal that information." I then went on to ask him if he knew about it, to which he said, "No, I did not." But on the audio recording released last week, Commissioner Lucky says, quote, "It was a request I got from the minister's office. I shared with the minister it was going to be in the news release." Right. The evidence is clear as day, Mr. Speaker. Either the minister or the commissioner is lying. Which one is it?
Oh, the Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, in this House, the members opposite is quite free to engage in any speculation or fabrication she may wish. But, Mr. Speaker, to be clear, Section 5.1 of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police Act provides for the direction of the minister, but equally clear. Our government recognizes and respects the police independence, underpins the rule of law, and ministerial direction cannot infringe on the independence of the RCMP. Mr. Speaker, I did not, at any time, give direction. The testimony I gave before the Commission was entirely the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, as I've repeated here today.
The Honourable Member for Sturgeon River Parkland.
Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Emergency Preparedness just stated unequivocally in Parliament that there was no interference by himself or his office in the ongoing investigation into the Nova Scotia mass shooting. But yet on Friday, we received an audio recording with RCMP Commissioner Lucky stating that the Minister's office had requested that this confidential evidence be released to the public. The Commissioner worked directly with the Minister against the wishes of investigators who warned that releasing this confidential evidence could jeopardize an investigation. The Minister misled Parliament. When will he resign?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And unfortunately, in these circumstances, it's apparent that the member's opposite reach exceeds his grasp. And the simple truth is that at no time was any direction given by me, and under Canadian law, the RCMP Act, the only person authorized to give direction to the RCMP is the Minister of Public Safety. I held that that role at the time, I respected the principle underlining the rule of law that the politics will not interfere with police operations. At no time did I give that direction, Mr. Speaker. That's the facts, as I've testified, and as the Commissioner of the RCMP has confirmed.
The honourable member for Cowichan Mellahut Langford.
Quote, "It was a request that I got from the minister's office." With those recorded words, the RCMP commissioner directly implicated the former Minister of Public Safety with political interference during an investigation into the worst mass shooting in Canadian history. Canadians expect police investigations to be independent so justice can be done. The government should never be directing the RCMP to divulge sensitive information to push a political agenda. The families of victims deserve answers. If he claims his office didn't interfere, is he saying the RCMP commissioner is lying to Canadians?
The Honourable Minister for Emergency Preparedness.
Mr. Speaker, the independence of police operations is not only a principle that I have always respected, it is one that I have vigorously defended for decades. And, Mr. Speaker, I can assure this House, as I have done previously and today...
I'm going to interrupt for a moment. I mean, I'm very close to the minister here, within distance, and I'm having a hard time hearing him. I just ask all the members, before they open their mouth, please look to their whip and see what they're doing. If they're doing this, that means something, I believe. The Honourable Minister from the top, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. As I have stated, the independence of police operations underpins the rule of law. This is a principle that I have not only always respected, but it's a principle that I have vigorously defended over decades. Mr. Speaker, yet may I say once again to this House, at no time did I direct the Commissioner of the RCMP in any operational matter. She was not directed by me in order to release information. It wasn't asked of her. It wasn't suggested to her. Mr. Speaker, the Commissioner herself has confirmed in sworn testimony before the Mass Casualty Commission that there was no interference.
The Honourable Member for Hamilton Centre.
Mr. Speaker, with growing fears about the looming recession, the need for strong social safety nets couldn't be more important for Canadians. Inflation has already made life unaffordable for most, and rising interest rates will result in higher consumer debt, along with hardworking people losing their jobs. Yet just last month, the Liberals allowed the temporary expansion of the EI eligibility to expire, leaving workers in Hamilton Centre and across the country to suffer. Will this government commit to making long overdue reforms to the EI program now to ensure that workers can get the financial support they've earned and that they deserve?
The Honourable Minister of Employment.
Mr. Speaker, the pandemic showed us that EI has not kept up with the way Canadians work, and we need to reform it. That's why we're working very hard to create a system that is more fair, more equal, and accessible for more workers. Mr. Speaker, EI was there for workers on a temporary basis with more accessible flexibilities in the program when workers needed it both. We'll continue to be there. We'll continue to be there for workers, and look forward to launching our plan to modernize EI systems soon.
The Honourable Member for St. John's East.
Mr. Speaker, over the past couple of years, and especially over this past summer, many Canadians have been pushed into homelessness due to the rising costs across the board. And it's no secret that this harsh reality has hit our most vulnerable the hardest. Can the Minister of Housing, Diversity and Inclusion please tell the House what this government is doing to support homeless Canadians and offer them a better tomorrow?
The Honourable Minister for Housing.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank the Honourable Member for St. John's East for an important question and strong advocacy on this really serious issue. Our government takes homelessness seriously, and that is why we are committed to eliminating it once and for all. And that is also why we've doubled the federal funding for Reaching Home, Canada's anti-homelessness strategy, from $2 billion to $4 billion. It's also why we're building 10,000 deeply affordable homes rapidly through the Rapid Housing Initiative. This means better access for affordable housing for the most vulnerable. It also means better services and wraparound supports that are needed. We have demonstrated that through federal leadership, we will leave no one behind. Merci beaucoup.
The Honourable Member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, and Rideau Lakes.
A company has come forward saying they didn't receive a dime of the missing million in the ArriveCan scam, proving these Liberals provided false information to this House and to Canadians for spending on this app. So are the Liberals going to give Canadians details of the real contracts for ArriveCan, or are they going to wait for more companies to come forward and tell us that even more money is missing? So, Where are the missing millions? Who got rich?
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Minister for Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, at the height of the pandemic, the ArriveCan app was an essential tool to protect the health and safety of Canadians. It did so by screening all those who wish to enter on their vaccination status. Of course, I understand that the honourable member has brought forward a question. I can assure him that the CBSA is conducting a full review, and we will provide updates to that once we have them. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, and Rideau Lakes.
Well, it was that minister's office who signed off on the documents telling Canadians that they paid for that work. Now we know it's not true. Millions of dollars are missing, millions of dollars over budget. And with this track record that this Liberal government has, Canadians know that they can't be trusted. Whether it was the WE scandal or SNC Lavalin, Canadians know Liberal insiders will always get the track. So which Liberal insider got this one? Who got rich off the Prime Minister's $54 million Arrive scam?
The Honourable Minister.
I'm afraid my honourable colleague across the aisle may be getting a bit ahead of his skis on this one. Let's let CBSA do the full review. We'll be entirely transparent with regards to those details, Mr. Speaker. And in the meantime, I want to remind him and all members that ArriveCan was an essential tool that helped to save Canadians' lives, that helped to protect the health and safety of all Canadians during the height of the pandemic. We based that decision on evidence, on science and medicine, which, of course, the Conservatives continue to wage war on every day.
The Honourable Member for Calgary, Midnapore.
Mr. Speaker, this government spent $54 million on an application experts say they could have created for $200,000. Yet when we demanded a list from this Liberal government of the contractors to see who got the $54 million, 3 contractors have already come forward and said they didn't get a penny.
Whoa.
So, what is this government trying to hide? Where's the money and who got rich?
Who got rich?
The Honourable Minister for Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, as I've already indicated on a number of occasions, CBSA is conducting a full review and will share details as they have them to be transparent. But I also do want to remind my colleague that the ArriveCan app did ensure that we were protecting the health and safety of Canadians. It ensured that we could keep the economy going. It ensured that we could keep food and fuel and, most essentially, health care treatment for Canadians. And going forward, we'll provide details when CBSA has them. Thank you.
The
Honourable Member for Bécancour-Éclairable. Mr. Speaker, CBSA is him. It's that minister right there. He's the one responsible. The Liberals they imposed a crackdown on these juicy contracts. So where is the $54 million that was given to develop the ArriveCan app that should have cost $200,000? We talked about so many updates for an application that never worked. So who are the other winners of the Liberal ArriveCan lottery? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, we are following up, and the results will be made public when they are available in this House. And in the meantime, I wish to remind people that ArriveCan was an essential tool during the pandemic. It was an app that protected Canadians' health and safety. Thank you. The Honourable Member for Trois-Rivières. Mr. Speaker, in summer 2021, Health Canada decided to authorize an increase in the quantity of pesticides used in our foods at the request of pesticide multinationals themselves. But because of public pushback, the government postpones its decision during the election campaign. Today, Radio-Canada revealed that Vigilance OGM has since tried to obtain the study on which the government's decision was based through an ATIP request. The organization received 229 blank pages. That's how this government defines transparency. It's so transparent we can see through its pages. Mr. Speaker, what does this government have to hide? The Honourable Minister of Health. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And not only would I like to thank my colleague, but also all Quebec organizations who ensured that people could remain healthy and protect the environment. Obviously, there are problems with regard to the access information system because of confidentiality. And we know that the Government of Canada received a revised law last year to ensure greater transparency and better access to information. And we will deal with these issues better. The Honourable Member for Trois-Rivières. Mr. Speaker, increasing pesticides in our food is not what the farmers were asking for. In fact, no one was asking for this except for Bayer, which manufactured the pesticides in question. At the time, the government was accused of having no study to justify its decision except the one prepared by Bayer. And today, it refuses to reveal to Vigilance OGM the study that led to its decision by saying this is information that was provided by a third party. Mr. Speaker, would the third party, perchance, be Bayer itself? The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Once again, I would like to thank my honourable colleague, and I would like to add to the response I gave earlier the fact that Health Canada and all its officials know that they have to do robust work in terms of quality of information. They have to respect the laws as well, and they all work together in order to make the access to information system better.
Notre Dame.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Folks in Newfoundland and Labrador know that I will vote for the Conservative motion not to place carbon tax on home heating fuel. However, Cecily from Lansinclair, Jeff in Pasadena, Sterling from Davidsville, Lorna in Mount Pearl, Glad in Paradise, and Tammy from St. John's are not so sure if their MPs will have their backs, like their Liberal leader promises all the time here. Will the Prime Minister once again force MPs from my province to vote against the well-being of our people?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And it's absolutely shocking, Mr. Speaker. Weeks after a climate catastrophe, Hurricane Fiona, the Conservatives want to take a tool off the table that is going to reduce emissions, fight climate change, and put more money in people's pockets, Mr. Speaker. But I want to assure the honourable member we will be there to help Atlantic Canada to rebuild. And, Mr. Speaker, we will be also there to help Atlantic Canadians transition to greener forms of energy. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Coast of Bay Central, Notre Dame.
Mr. Speaker, one of the heartless hands of that was. In June, Liberal MPs from Atlantic Canada voted against my bill to form a Pinnipit Management Act against the wishes of their constituents. These same folks are now faced with a tripling of the carbon tax about to go on home heating fuel, and they simply can't afford it. Will Atlantic Liberal MPs vote to exempt all forms of home heating fuel from carbon tax, or will they give Atlantic Canadians the cold shoulder?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. We are focused like a laser beam on affordability and the cost of living challenges of Canadian families. And that's why it's so important, Mr. Speaker, that the price on pollution and the climate rebate puts more money in.
Laser beam. I want to hear laser beam again. Buzz Lightyear. I'm not sure what happened on the weekend, but everybody's came back really rambunctious. I just want to remind everybody to calm down. Calm down. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary from the top, please.
Well, as I was saying, Mr. Speaker, 8 out of 10 families will benefit, according to the Parliamentary Budget Officer. And, Mr. Speaker, very good news. About a week and a half ago, checks started to arriving in people's mailboxes. They will now arrive quarterly. That's going to help Atlantic Canadians. It'll help all Canadians with the cost of living and with cash flow, Mr. Speaker. And may I say, Mr. Speaker, there is a triple benefit. It's going to reduce pollution, drive innovation, and importantly, put more money in people's pockets.
The Honourable Member for Cumberland Colchester.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the sad facts are this. Grocery costs are up over 10%. Home heating costs are up 54% from a year ago. Seniors are now having to choose between rent and groceries, and they're opting out of home insurance so they can feed themselves.
it was pointed out that the light wasn't on, but the microphone seems to be working. If the honourable member can start his question right from the top, we can hear you. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, the sad facts are this. Grocery costs are up over 10%, and home heating costs are up 54% from a year ago. Seniors are having to choose between rent and feeding themselves. They're opting out of home insurance, which they desperately need, again, to feed themselves, Mr. Speaker. Premiers Fury and Houston have reached out to this government, literally begging them for relief for Atlantic Canadians and the extra $1 billion that they will have to pay for home heating costs by 2030. Will this Prime Minister and the costly coalition with the NDP end the tax on home heating?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And while the Conservatives spend time focusing on slogans, we're focused on helping seniors. The only thing tripling is the misinformation spread by the leader of this opposition party. I can say firsthand that home heating oil is expensive, Mr. Speaker, and that's why we're delivering funding to help folks make the switch to efficient and more affordable ways of heating their homes. It's why we're doubling the GST tax credit, and they can heckle as much as they want, Mr. Speaker. They just don't want to hear the answer about all the things that we're doing for affordability for Canadians and seniors that are vulnerable.
The honourable member for Dorval-Lachine-LaSalle. Mr. Speaker, the increase in inflation globally is also affecting Canadians who are also dealing with the rising cost of living. The government is remaining committed to Canadians and is constantly seeking solutions. Can the Minister of Health underscore the importance of adopting Bill C-31, which will help Canadian children to have access to affordable dental care and will give relief to those who have trouble paying their rent? Thank you. The Honourable Minister of Health. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'd like to thank my colleague from Dorval-Lachine-LaSalle for her work, and I'd like to thank her for pointing out how important oral health and dental health care is. We are moving forward with this bill, with C-31, which will help the families and some 500,000 children to avoid hospitalization, and it will also reduce, helps reduce cardiovascular disease, and this will provide children with health care they need, and it will help with the costs of families in question.
Mr. Speaker, with temperatures dropping below 0 degrees across the country, people are turning on their heat. But seniors are telling me they don't know how long they'll be able to afford to keep their homes heated with the Liberal tax hikes on the way. With natural gas and heating oil representing more than 60% of Canadian home heating, will the costly coalition with the NDP back off tripling the carbon tax?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of the Environment.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Under the previous Conservative leader, just 1 year ago, everyone on that side of the House supported a price on pollution. The member for New Brunswick Southwest recently endorsed a carbon price for his province, Mr. Speaker. The member for Wellington-Halton Hills made the carbon price a centerpiece of his leadership campaign in 2017. Now everyone on that side of the House, Mr. Speaker, is vehemently opposed to a carbon price. Mr. Speaker, they've been consistent. I have to hand it to them. They are consistent flip-floppers.
The Honourable Member for Kelowna Lake Country.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the Liberals must be unaware that Canada gets cold in the winter, and the hot air coming from across that side of the House won't heat people's homes. In Campbell River, BC, recently told Czech News that their home heating costs would increase 80% from just under $1,400 a year to almost $2,500.
Wow.
Yet the government pushes on with more tax hikes. Will the Liberals do the decent thing, stop the pain, and cancel the tripling of carbon taxes?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives across the way never talk about the costs of climate change. In her province of BC, climate change is actually killing people and ravaging their economy. 600 people, Mr. Speaker, died under the heat dome last year. It was a $9 billion impact to their local economy. Climate change is real, Mr. Speaker. Lives are real. These costs are real. We have a plan to reduce emissions, build community resiliency, and create the clean jobs of tomorrow. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Montmagny-Lillet, Kamouraska, Rivière-du-Loup. Mr. Speaker, many Quebecers, especially in rural regions, heat with oil, and the cost of this has doubled since the last year. Many Canadian families and Quebec families have to make tough choices in order to feed and house their families. And so the last thing they need is to be deprived of heating. Winter is coming, Mr. Speaker, and so we have a simple request for this government to remove the carbon tax on home heating bills. Will it do so? The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We know that climate change is real, and that is why we have put a price on pollution. It is very important to have a mechanism that is going to help us to contain climate change. We've seen forest fires, we've seen floods, and we've seen we've seen inflation, and that is why we're working on inflation with billions of Canadians to help Canadians. That is a responsible government.
Mr. Speaker, on Friday, the Prime Minister and the Minister of Public Safety announced that a national freeze on handguns has come into effect as one of the many steps our federal government is taking to get guns off of our streets, tackle gun violence, and keep Canadians safe. Eileen Mohan, whose son was tragically gunned down, said she was rejoicing at seeing this announcement in her lifetime, saying our government was choosing life over death. Can the Minister of Public Safety update the House on this important step forward in our fight against gun violence?
The Honourable Minister for Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank my colleague for the question and all of her advocacy on this important subject matter, which has impacted not only our hometown in Toronto, but communities right across the country, both rural, urban, and suburban. Mr. Speaker, I'm so proud of the work of this government, where we announced last Friday, for the first time in our country's history, a national handgun freeze. Mr. Speaker, this means that going forward it will be illegal to buy, sell, or transfer handguns right across the country. But what's also important is that members recognize that this is part of a broader plan, where we're going to buy back assault-style rifles and get them out of our communities, where we're going to continue to invest at the border, and where we're going to stop gun crime before it starts. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Timmins, James Bay.
They were popping corks in the minister's office when the Supreme Court announced they would not reopen the St. Anne's residential school file. But this issue is not going away. The Justice Department suppressed 10,000 pages of police evidence of rape, abuse, and torture of children in that awful institution. Then they lied in the hearings and spent millions on lawyers all the way to the Supreme Court. There is no reconciliation in Canada without justice for St. Anne's. So will the minister stand up and tell us he will meet with the survivors and establish a credible mediation process? Look at me when I'm talking to you about these St. Anne's survivors.
I can appreciate members wanting dramatic sound clips, but that was not acceptable. Honourable Minister. The Honourable Minister for Indigenous Services.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This should not be about me or anyone else in the House of Commons at this point. There are a lot of survivors, particularly the survivors of St. Anne's, that are hurting at this date in light of the judgment of the Supreme Court. I have asked my department to re-examine 11 of the cases, particularly sensitive student cases. We'll be approaching the court monitor to re-examine those cases in particular. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Spadina, Fort York.
Mr. Speaker, Liberals think they can support workers in EI and still raise payroll taxes while small businesses in Canada fight to survive. The Prime Minister doesn't agree, or at least he didn't in 2013. On June 5th of that year, the then member for Papineau asked a question on behalf of Dustin from Calgary, noting that EI premiums were to rise by $50 and that it was a direct payroll tax increase. The member asked why the government then was doing that to Dustin and every other working Canadian. Mr. Speaker, does today's Prime Minister care about Dustin, or has he thrown him in the dustbin?
The Honourable Minister for Small Business.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the honourable member for that question. It is clear that he cares deeply for small businesses, as I do, and I want to remind him that they are not only the backbone of our Canadian economy, it is what we have been doing by cutting their small business taxes, by helping them thrive through the pandemic onto this road to economic recovery. And I want to assure this member that we're going to keep working very, very hard for Canadian small businesses, just as he does in his writing. Thanks.
Absolutely. I'm afraid that's all the time we have for question period today. It being 3:08, pursuant to the order made on Thursday, June 23rd, 2022, the House will now proceed to the taking of deferred recorded division on the motion of Monsieur Poilievre relating to the business of supply. Convoquez les députés.
Call in the members.
La question est la...
The question is the following one.
Mr. Poilievre, seconded by Mr. Halan, moved that given that, 1/10 of Canadians heat their homes during Canada's coldest winter months with heating oil or propane heat because there are no alternatives.
2. Canada is the only G7 country to have raised fuel taxes during this period of record high global fuel prices.
Energy analysts have predicted that Canadians could see their home heating bills rise by 50 to 100% on average this winter.
4. The Liberal Premier of Newfoundland and Labrador wrote to the federal Liberal government